hosting this Fall 2023 seminar series, and I welcome you all to the session. Uh, so before introducing the speaker, I want to tell you about the graduate student community. So we are a student community where we help a lot of graduate students in terms of mentoring, in terms of solving the problems, and in terms of making life good. The GSC leadership team for the academic year 2023 and 24 is, as you see, Roshan, Samir, Anam, and Rachel Bennett are our co-chairs. Andrew and Avinash are responsible for the publicity. We all are in the support team, and we love doing all the events that we host. So we do a lot of events, including food festivals, including seminars, mentoring the graduate students, and everything. And our faculty advisor and mentor is Professor Farooq Mistry. So we have our leadership meetings every Wednesday at 5:15 p.m. These happen every week, and I would love to invite you all to our meetings, which are probably scheduled as per the convenience of all the students who attend. So if this time is not suitable, we can always try to accommodate you in and change the time. If you're interested in the meetings, you can contact Rachel and Roshan, and I'm just going to wait a second so that you can note their email IDs. These meetings are via Zoom, so you don't have to be present anywhere, and we would really love to see you in the meetings. Uh, so with that, to know all the events that we host and to get all the information and to stay tuned with us, we request you to become a member on Engage. You can scan the QR code that you can see, and we would really love to be more in touch with you for all the events. With that, we also have a LinkedIn page, and for all the OU students as well as people who are not from OU, it's really advisable to get engaged with this page as well. You can subscribe to this page. We have all our alumni, all the OU alumni who have been graduated, and we are in touch with them. So this is really a good page for you to follow. I would wait for a second so that you can scan this. We are also there on Facebook as our social media, and I would again insist you all, and I would love to see you all on our Facebook page as well, so that you get all our updates and whatever sessions we are holding and the events we have throughout the semesters. So in case you miss any of the sessions that we hold, we record all the sessions and we upload all the recordings on our YouTube page. This is again the QR code for our YouTube page, and I would love you all to subscribe to the page so you just get all the updates there, and you just can watch any series that we hold anytime. So just feel free to just visit our YouTube page anytime and watch anything that you are interested in. With that, we have Dave and Susan Bird Team Room. We have a lot of things available there. That is for GSC members. We have amenities like couch. We have whiteboards for you to study. We have coffee pots. We have microwave, and the room is really nice. You all can see that in the picture. And anybody of you who wants to access this room and who wants to use this room anytime can contact our coaches Rachel and Roshan, and we would really love to give you the access, and you can use it to excel in everything you want. With that, we will send the Google form for the as the attendance, and I would request all of you to please fill the Google form. This really helps us to get who all have attended, and even we can be in touch with you for all the coming seminars and sessions and the events that we hold. So I would request all of you to please fill the attendance sheet that will be sent in the chat box in a few minutes. With that, Now we are all set to invite and introduce our today's speaker, Dr. Kiran Bhole, who is Associate Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering and Dean Research and Development at Sardar Patel College of Engineering, Mumbai. Dr. Kiran Bhole has received his PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai in Mechanical Engineering. His research interests are in fabrication of microstructures using bulk photopolymerization, fluid shaping and development of flexural systems. He has co-authored over 52 peer-reviewed conference and 41 peer-reviewed journal papers. He has received the prestigious ASME Best Paper Award in ASME IDTC conference in 2022, which was held at St. Louis in US. He has a research projects sponsored by a lot of funding agencies in India, which include TechWeep, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, and many more. He's the coordinator of DST-sponsored Nidhi Prayas Lab in collaboration with Sardar Patel Institute of Technology and the SPTBI in Mumbai. He is also serving as a guest editor for a special issue of Springer, international journal on interactive design and manufacturing and innovation and emerging technologies. The title that he's going to present today and share his research is Net-Shaped Structures by Mimicking Nature-Inspired Systems. With that, I would like to invite Dr. Kiran Bhole and request him to be on the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayank, for the generous introduction. I hope I'm audible to all of you. Just a confirmation from you.
Your audio is a little muffled.
Okay now? Hello.
It could be a little louder because we can barely hear you.
Now it's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Mayank, for the generous introduction of mine. And so let me share first the slide. Okay, so is my presentation visible for all of you? Hello?
It's not yet visible. I think it will take a few seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's visible.
Okay. I put in presentation mode. Is it fine now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So thank you, Mayank, for the generous introduction. And I'm very happy to see you all here and this student community. And I remember like Mayank in his alma mater at my institute, I mean, leading the SPC students chapter. And really, he done wonderful job when he was the secretary, I guess, Mayank, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so secretary of the SPC student chapter. And I hope he will give the 100% at the University of Oklahoma as well. Let me start with the assignment given to you. So this is really not my PhD topic, but it has generated out of one fun experiment during my PhD time. It was like at IIT Bombay, as mentioned in my introduction. I was working on my research topic, which is really a bulk polymerization, which dealt with the fabrication of the free-form 3D structures in single laser scan over the photopolymer resin. So it's very unlike the process which we know in 3D printing. Particularly, we build layer by layer, and the 3D component gets built on. And it's not the process is unlike that, and we used to we oriented in my PhD topic in a way to generate the 3D structures underneath the substrate. So by bulk photopolymerization. And during that time, I was working with one resin, and we stuck up with a problem. And during that time, my professor was along with me to discuss that, and he was deeply thinking on the problem which I was undergoing, and I was playing with that resin. And when I was playing with that resin, I found that resin behavior is interesting, and that triggers me to take that particular problem after completing my PhD, and I started working. And so I'm presenting that the work whichever I did after my PhD program, really not the PhD problem which I'm taking a hit. And some wonderful stuff has come. Still, it is at nascent stage. But I would like to I would like to share with you whatever the progress so far we have done in that line. So the topic is like net shape structures by mimicking nature inspired system. So nature is involved, and the inspiration is nature inspired design processes we see all around us. So let me share that, where we found such interesting structures in the nature, which I will be like sharing with you, with which I have demonstrated through my research. So you see the branches of the tree, they are particularly in some kind of a shape. We call it as a fractal. Okay, such fractal type of a structure we see in leaves also. Okay, I see this magnified view on the right hand side where my cursor is, and such fractal type structure we see on the bay where there is a river basin and joining the ocean, and similar type of such fractal structure we see particularly in snowflakes, and quite few of vegetables and plants also we see a very different kind of a pattern. So you can see on lower right hand side part. And to proceed further, we see in such a fractal type of structure in our retinal. And when there is a lightning happen, we see such a fractal type structure. Okay. And a similar such a fractal type structure you can see in flies and our human cardiovascular system, vascular system, etc. And if you ask the question to ourselves why these structures are like this, okay, so nature has created everything for some reason. I don't know why they are in this shape, but yes, we found it abundantly in various systems or various natural systems. There might be some reason. I don't know really what the reason is. Okay, but they are there for some reason. And then, what the fun experiment I was talking about when I was at the end of my PhD topic, which lead to form such fractal structure, and that inspires me. And when I correlate it with the nature, like such structures are there seen abundantly, and then I took that as a research problem and start contributing something. So what that experiment or what that fun involved in during my PhD last days was I took one resin which I was working during my PhD time, and two glass lights, and I squeezed that fluid, that resin, which is very high viscous fluid, typically a non-Newtonian fluid, which was squeezed between the two plates. The gap is in some ranges of micron, maybe 30, 40 microns. And then I lifted up one of the plate, let us say the top plate, and normal to the bottom plate. So when I lift it, I wonder to see such patterns which is at the lower end. This pattern, which is very similar to the fractals which I shown in the previous slides. So what is happening? Basically, this when I lift the upper plate, the surrounding fluid, which is air, in the case where I tried, and then air rushes in and try to find out the path in the non-Newtonian fluid which was squeezed. And that results into this fractal type of structure. So I did many times this fun, when my supervisor was thinking on my PhD problem, and I was doing this. And I see quite repeatedly, I used to get this pattern. And I was amazed. And it deviates from my PhD problem, but leads to some interesting thing. And I seen, okay, this is very repeatedly generating, and really was wonderful to see also. And I will tell you at some point in my lecture that you also can try at your hostel or room and see the structures happening. And many of my colleagues tried that, and they were wondering, yeah, these structures are wonderful and so easily we can get. And then if you look at this structure, this fractal, which is found in a nature, and with this experiment, with this kind of a setup, two plates squeezing the fluid and one of the plates being normal to the bottom plate and then leading to the formation of this structure. One or two very quick points of conclusion are they are very random in nature. So this is the animation which shows like when the two plate squeezes the fluid and then we lift the top plate, then it leads to this formation of fractal. When we dig into the people who worked on this, and then we come to know this type of pattern called as viscous fingering. Why it is viscous called viscous fingering, I will address later on. But then what we have concluded with this fun experiment that it generates, but they are very random in nature. We have to control it. Okay, so it leads to in a research direction. We develop one experimental setup and we try it in our experimental setup, okay, proper way. And then this video will tell us show you fractal formation through our experimental setup. You see this, I'm just making fast forward. So these are the factors which are formed through our experimental setup. And we concluded that with so many experiments that yes, it is forming, but it is very random in nature. And then we did the finite element simulation as well on this. And this on right hand side, you can see the finite element simulation working. And we simulated it quite well. We compared both the experimentally observed results with the results obtained through the ANSYS finite element method. And we successfully done it. And then we were set to do number of experiments through the simulation. And really, but the experimentation takes less time, but simulation really takes long time. So we do not follow too much of simulations but yes, to find out the phenomena, how it is, which physical phenomena which is involved. No, in that direction, we really did the simulation. And when we see it is very randomly forming, and when we look at some application, we really need to have some better control over it, so that we can generate an ordered structure as what we want. So we started working on those directions. Okay, so as they are uncontrolled, very random, symmetrical but random. We don't know from where it will start and all. So we took assignment very first to control it and to generate it as what we want, right? Control is for that purpose. So that we can really use this process and we can generate the ordered structure the way we want, and then we can use it in some application. This leads to the this direction was to develop a technology which can generate the ordered net set structures. And this manufacturing technology, to build this manufacturing technology was our first target, rather than really looking for some applications of this net structures. So in that direction, to get the ordered structure or the control structure, we characterize it, and we simply characterize this process, and then we start developing some control mechanism. How do we control? If you look at this process, really, when two plates are getting separated, the surrounding air in our case is penetrating the high viscous fluid. It means generally this fluid interaction is happening, and we are shaping the fluid. So this is a process where the shaping of the fluid is taking place. If you look at the manufacturing process, we three classes. I mean classify manufacturing process in three segments. One is subtractive process, where we subtract something from a block and create whatever the end product we want. And additive manufacturing, where we build on layer by layer and generate the component. And third segment in manufacturing is forming, like in casting, what we do, and all the forming of the sheet metal and all. So this is a forming. This is falling in a forming, that to precisely the fluid shaping or fluid forming. Now, how we do this fluid forming in a controlled way? So what we did is we put some anisotropies on the plates. So what we have in a system is only the two plate and a resin squeeze between the two plates. So how do we control it? So we thought, let us put some disturbances in the process of forming this fluid or shaping this fluid. So we put on some holes, a single hole, then multiple holes. After seeing the effect of single hole on fluid shaping or fluid forming, we introduced multiple holes. And then with this, we did a lot of experiment then with the parameters which are involved in this. What are the parameters that are involved? Are like, we have the two plates in which fluid space, means viscosity plays into role. Then the gap between the plate. If you look at the process, and if you can see, if you've somewhere seen such thing happening, if the gap between the plate is too small, really it will lead to such a fractal formation. But if the gap between the plate is big in meso scale, like in or in centimeters, this fractal type of structure will not form. So another very important parameter, rather dominating parameter, is the gap between the plate along with the viscosity. Lifting velocity of the plate is also one of the parameters, but not so dominating. So these are few of the parameters we found, and then we did a lot of characterization. All those mathematics I am not putting in my presentation. Those who are interested can discuss with me, or I will share the journal where a lot of mathematics is involved, and to understand the process. So what we did is we put the holes first, and then characterize. We did a lot of experiment with this change in level of these parameters, and we try to then generate a few controlled structures, and we try to mimic few patterns, like the flower pattern, then honeycomb and all. Then we tried some other geometrical anisotropies, like by providing the slots, then surface roughness, and so on. I will show all those results to you. So this is like, when we put on one central hole here, and then the plates get separated, we see such type of factors getting generated. The fluid is then is getting in from the peripheral direction as well as from the central hole at the middle, and it leads to this shape, and then the lateral way the fluid moving get into this business. And then, we put multiple holes, and then there is an interaction taking place when the fluid is moving from these multiple holes. And we recorded it all, and we quantify all those. And then we put multiple holes at different radial location. You see on my slides on extreme left hand side, and the beautiful structures are generated. We simulated also, because we want to see whatever the physics involved is really what we thought is really is the case or not. So all those matches well, experiment and simulation. So we did a lot of this experiment with multi-holes. We navigate the way we want, and we come up with a lot of different patterns here. See all those with multiple holes. So this way it leads to conclude on some quantitative way how is the fluid is shaping taking place when this anisotropies in the geometrical anisotropies. And again, anisotropies can be in different ways, like putting some into the piezoelectric field and all, also where magnetic field is fluid. Also can be anisotropies. We haven't tried it, but I've given a thought to a student. Really, we haven't tried it yet. But this is very simple, geometrical anisotropy. Don't need any expensive kind of a thing. Very easy to explain. Then with all those characterization and all those mathematical models we develop, we generate few of the patterns like flower pattern, and with the 4 holes, we navigate the fluid, and we generate and try to mimic all those in our laboratory. So these are some of the results, interesting results that we got. This way, we generated few of the patterns, controlled pattern, I will say rather. So very first it was uncontrolled, now we control it. And these are in some micron size or sometimes lead to the meso size as well. Presently, our setup is not well professional, so we know all the limitations. So really, we not go to the submicron level and all, but very sure if we can work out on that, because this phenomena is dominated when uh, the, the gap between the plate is in some microns, and if we can go below with the limit which we are having, really we can have the micron or submicron or nanometer scale pattern as well. But till that we haven't yet cracked that. And after doing that, we also tried generating some honeycomb structure. You see this hexagonal type of shape, and the holes are there. These are the holes, and which because of which we can generate this honeycomb type of structure. We simulated that as well. Another case here at the bottom, and we tried to get it to very fairly good accuracy. So this is with some definite polygonal shape. Honeycomb is typically of hexagonal shape, and we generate that, mimic that very well. And you see this picture, like the rectangular things, then this hexagonal things, this triangular, this leaf, and then we, with all this, a lot of characterization is involved in all this. With that knowledge, we generated this part of the leaf Venetian. This is a leaf Venetian actual, and this is what we generated. It's very well accurately planned and executed. So this is all that outcome of the characterization we did a lot of based on a lot of experimentation. And then the few of the things like in the first pattern which we get out of this fluid experiments, you can see like the fractals, they initiate from some point and they meet, and then further they go and meet at second point. So these are all nodes. And how do we start at from particular end only? And for that, these holes are placed that help us to very accurately define from where to start, where they should end. So these are the radial holes placed at different locations that helps in controlling their location, where they start, where they should meet and propagate further. If you look at all this, let me tell you, all those are not mentioned on the slides, but when you look at this process, really what forces are dominating in this fluid shaping is, one is the viscous force and another is the capillary force. So when this force comes into the picture, this fractal formation takes place. So for that, the capillary force to be very high, the distance between the plate need to be very, very small. Generally, as mentioned, as like in the range of some microns, like 30 to 50 or 100 microns. And during that time, when the surrounding fluid is finding its path in the highly viscous fluid, so there is a interaction between the capillary forces and the viscous forces that leads to this pattern. That physics is understanding that physics is very, very important. And under the light of anisotropies also, and when anisotropies are placed, this becomes very mathematically very difficult to set up. But with some experiment, you can simplify this model for yourself, and you can really try it, and you can see the different accurate model based on the experiment data working. And then we tried on different surface roughness, really not explode a lot, but you can see few of the strips taken and some protrusions also, protrusions done, and the patterns of various shapes are generated. You see, this is very interesting. This very smooth surface on lower half, and the upper half is one paper which is rough in nature. And when the fluid is placed and the plate is getting lifted up, then you see the difference. Here the patterns are very minimum. Here the patterns are very minute and in minute shape, and very interesting. The pattern you get it on this rough paper. This is also very interesting. Again, we tried with the two different surface roughness, paper of the different surface roughness, and we get different pattern. But yes, we have not yet explored this to the fully potential, only observed the pattern and left that. Okay. No serious quantification done, but yes, it really gives very good promising results. If someone want to work in this direction and want to generate a long fractal type structures of micron size or maybe lesser than that, there really can be a good, interesting area to work on. So this is very important, and we tried another anisotropies in the form of slots. So we provided the slots on the edges, and we did the same experiment, and we got very interesting results over here as well. So this slot number we do change from 3 to 4. You can see on my slide, and the shaping pattern has changed, leads to a different pattern altogether. The pattern slots in number 5 again leads to the different shapes. Okay, and all those are very interesting and fascinating. If you want to create all ordered structure, you can have all those data banks with you, with all this geometrical anisotropies placed in, and really you can shape the fluid for the shape which you want. And let me take you to few of the things which actually we initially started, but right now we dropped all those. But I will put it in the story of my presentation. So the resin which we used is basically a mixture of monomer and photoinitiator here. As I mentioned, it essentially need to be a non-Newtonian fluid. So how to prepare that non-Newtonian fluid? Basically, we worked with the two different fluids, two different components. The monomer and photoinitiator. This is the resin which I used in my PhD during my PhD time when I was working on bulk lithography, which is the outcome of my PhD. Generates the 3D component with free-form vein single scan of laser. So we started this in this process also for the fractal generation, because the fun experiment I did on this resin. The resin is monomer and photoinitiator. We mix it and we make a homogeneous mixture. And then it's just like a water to get a feel, because you might not be knowing this monomer and photoinitiator, like hexane diacrylate, I use HDDA, and benzyl lithium ether as photoinitiator. Basically, to give a feel, it's just like a water. But we required non-Newtonian fluids. So we put the ceramic nanopowder, Al2O3 into it, a nanometer size powder. And then to make a homogeneous mixture, we have a ball milling process and so many other chemicals involved in that, surfactant and all, to make it homogeneous, and then followed by this ball milling for several hours, and then we get homogeneous slurry. So in our preliminary experiment, when we started with this on this research area, we took these resin systems, and which are very costly. SDDA for 1 liter, it cost in India something around 15,000 rupees. So it's very costly. Benzoyl ether also very costly. But as I did some experiment on this resin, so we continued with that in this area, and we prepared that resin system and done a wonderful experiment. If you want to change the viscosity, what you have to do is only the loading percentage of the ceramic nanopowder you have to change. That's how. So that's how it is simple, but it is very costly. So what we did before moving to this is, nowadays we don't use this costly resin. We replaced it, and we replaced it by, you will be surprised knowing the the resin system or the fluid which we use is toothpaste. So Colgate toothpaste, which is very low cost, right? And we use that. Why we use this benzoyl ethyl ether? And that I told, like, it was the first fun experiment which I did at IIT Bombay, and I carried away that. But then we thought, why it only having we only need a non-Newtonian fluid. So why to use so much expensive fluid? So we search and we search and we use the toothpaste, which quite looks very simple and I mean similar to that. We tried that, and the same results we got. So we scrapped this, all those whatever is present on this slide, and we are using the good. So how we control now the viscosity here? So what we are doing is we put on glycerin, which is also very low cost, and we readily can do that. And by varying the percentage of glycerin, we can do that very well. Okay, so we are doing that now. We don't use this particular heavy, costly resin. And as I mentioned, the control parameters here are velocity of the plate, gap between the plate, the quantity and viscosity, all those vary. And then these are the few slides which tells like the process plan for all those, like how we generate the resin system, how we control one of the plate moving ahead, and how to get this patterns ahead. So these are process plan which the students have developed for the process for generating this pattern. After generating this fractal pattern, we looked at, like, people surely as the first target was to generate the technology and to develop the technology, and we are sure that we have developed the technology which can develop this ordered fractal type structure quite well. But then the technology is of no use if the outcome of the technology is really seen whether it is used somewhere. As I mentioned, these fractal patterns are available in nature everywhere. I shown some uh, slides on initial slides, and they are available in nature. The reason we have to understand why they are available, why they are of this shape, in this shape in the nature. Perhaps at this point I don't know, but if we deeply investigate, yes, we can surely find the answer to that. Then when we see around various literature where such patterns are used by the people, we found some literature here. You know, these are the taken from literature. They are use it such a branching type structure for micro mixing application and so on. There's on right hand side, you know, they are generated for some channel flow network micron level. And then we thought like micro channel for circular cooling and so on, using the different technology. We thought, why not to demonstrate like mixing or micro heat exchanger and with the fractals which we developed. So I'll tell you that fractals which we have developed using our technology are like protrusions. They are not. They are typically the peaks. I mean, okay. So how do we convert into the channel now? That was the challenge. So we look at this application. Let us demonstrate. But the next is to convert this fluid form, which are in the form of the protrusions, like protrusion type of things. Okay. So how do we convert into the channel form? So what we do is, I'll come to this later. So what we did is, uh, we took the Silgard 184, which is PDMS, basically. Its chemical name is polydiol methyl siloxane, something like that. And it comes in two components. One is the base component, and another is curing agent. We have to mix it in some 1:10 ratio. And the basic purpose of this Silgard in our experimentation is to generate the replica of this fractal type, ordered fractal type we were able to generate into that Silgard, okay, into that PDMs. So we put this base and curing, we did, I mean, again, it requires some pre-processing steps. So we put it in some kind of recommended uh, uh, proportions. But when we mix it, a lot of air comes and get dissolved into it. So we have to degas it. So we generate a degassing unit, and we take out this air which get trapped into this PDMS, and then that PDMS we put it on. Okay, this is a degassing process when the air bubbles comes out from this process, from the system, and then we pour it onto the fractals which are generated. So these fractals which are protrusion now on the substrate, like acrylic substrate we use on that. We have poured this, and we get the negative pattern of it after curing. So this is negative pattern of it. Means these are valleys now, but they are open channel. I mean, other way I can explain it like they are channels, but they are open channels. They are not closed. For any application, we found that it need to be closed. These are the PD. These are converted. I mean, from the non-Newtonian plate which we use the resin. From the resin, we converted into the open channel, uh, into the PDMS. Now, the next challenge was, now these are open, so how do we close it? So we use the oxygen plasma treatment process. So again, this oxygen plasma, we refer to the already established literature, and very promising substrate for bonding this PDMS is the silicon. And when we look at like silicon, again, it was very costly for us to try, but it's proven and proven in the literature. The people use PDMS and bonded on the silicon. And really, it was another problem was, it was this facility of oxygen plasma treatment in Mumbai. It was in IIT Bombay, and it was long queue. And we were waiting for long days for getting our PDMS bonded to the silicon, and that too a very costly silicon substrate. So one of my student, Harshal, MTech student, he did a lot of, like, he was really wonderful student, took a lot of efforts on taking some other substrate, and he tried, he suggested me, like, sir, can we use a glass, a simple glass? I said, okay, you give a try. And he tried that on a glass, and then Chase One Industry, who's in Mumbai, is like preparing oxygen plasma system for many institutions working on oxygen plasma. So that industry was not ready also. I mean, they were into the business. So, but we convinced them and did a lot of experiment on the glass. So they were also keen initially, because this is a different substrate other than the silicon. So they give us a slot for many times. I mean, after they've seen some promise, and also a business, like they can develop some system all around if this works well. So the Herschel did a lot of like follow up, and then he come with some process parameters. Come with process parameter where he could bond this PDMS onto the glass, and it was very low cost solution for us. And we got then channels which open in the PDMS are now closed. Okay. So close on one side it is a glass, and another side it is a PDMS. And then really we thought now we should go through some experimentation and show and demonstrate at least our channels and our process is well established and it's set for the micromix. We really don't try in real application, but we demonstrated the capability. So Herschel himself did this. He purged color dye into this the channel from the center, and this is the glass substrate, and this is the PDMS. And he demonstrated now it flows well into the channels or the fractals which are developed. And demonstrated, yeah, we can use this, and this is alternative process for developing and using uh, this process for generating the fractals. And very competitive to the established manufacturing process. Like we have lithography or the machining, micro machining process, micro milling also you can do in CNC micro milling. But I'll tell you all this. This is very competitive to all those because this process is so simple. Do not require a lot of sophistication. And then he also demonstrated the fluid mixing. He took two different color dye and then purged it at different in different branches of this fractal. And he observed at the center the mixing is taking place. I mean this blue and yellow they get mixed here, and the red and the green color get formed at the joint. Let me try. Oh, problem. I don't know why this video is not working here. Okay, again. Okay, now you can see this blue and yellow when we can purge from the different branches and green color getting formed. So this is how the micro mixing can demonstrate here. So Herschel has demonstrated it, the capability of the process, successful process chain from fluid shaping to the generation of microchannels, closed microchannel, and showing all well set for the micromix. As I mentioned, really we haven't tried on real application. Only we shown the demonstration. Real application in micromixing, we tried in some to see some chemical reaction or some biological phenomena mixing species and all those. We really don't have expertise in that area, as well as not supported with the similar kind of the system in our institute because we are not into that field. But we seen this in literature, this fractals type of structure used in those areas, so they can use our technology, generate the fractal, and for whatever the purpose they want. We see in this fractal, as I mentioned to you in my previous starting slides, have abundantly seen in nature, typically in the leaf venation also we seen, maybe assisting the photosynthesis process. So using this fractal, we really can have artificial photosynthesis. We haven't tried. This is just the something to aspire. So then further moving ahead from the circular substrate which we initially took and seen this fractal generated, we also explored like how this the substrate is changed from the circular to some polygonal, then what will happen? So Herschel only has tried on some triangular plate and so on, pentagonal, hexagonal, to see the effects of the edges and corners. And at different levels of the viscosity and velocity, tried that, and you see that some results where fractals are formed, where at the end here the fractals are not formed, as I mentioned. When there is a really not the good interaction of the capillary forces and the viscous forces are really not interfering, and inertial are more into the inertial forces are more into play, we don't really get the fractal. So this classic example on the bottom right hand side. The top one is the classic example where capillary forces are dominating and you get all those results. You see the gap between the plate here, it is 100 micron and something more here at the bottom plate. The gap is increasing, this way. We did a lot of analysis. Few only I will tell here that when we look at all those substrates changing and all those levels changing, we should serve with a process plan which can be useful for any user, and you can use all those process plan and can work on those and get his structure as he what he want. So we generalize our all those results or experimental results into the dimensionless entities. So as I mentioned, the capillary forces are more dominating. So we map all our quantification done into the dimensionless number called capillary number, and then B by D. That's very important. The gap between the plate, is the factor which is very promising for generating the fractal type section. And we plot all those results at different capillary number and B by D ratio for this is one illustrative for the triangular subset plate. And then all those we plot here, and we can see this is the region where this capillary number ranging from 1 to some level and D by D to some level here on all the side. Here the fractal formation are quite good. Whereas if you look at this region where B by D is really big, you don't get the fractal form. So we did a lot of such dimensionless analysis for generalization. Because there are so many things into the picture and so many variations can take place. New entrant or maybe a user of the machine should be able to figure out what the shape he will get at the end if he is working with some parameters which are not yet explored, but analysis should tell what will be his outcome. This generalization will help. We done with a lot of process planning also for new person to start with and get the accurate result of the plan. So all those attempts in generalization we did, and then we tried moved from the circular from polygonal plates to the 3D surfaces now. We are working with the 3D surfaces. Really, the fractal in 3D domain is quite interesting. And it's very, very then challenging, and it's challenging for micromachining working with conventional processes as well. But if you mimic, if you do it on the 3D surfaces the way we are doing on 2D, and it will be a wonderful tool, wonderful technology. So we tried it on the 3D. We tried with the cone and then hemisphere, and one of the students is working on that. And we are at nascent stage on 3D. We are just generating the fractals, which are again random in nature. We are again thinking on the same line as we thought on the 2D. How do we control it? 3D fractals come with a different physics. Gravity also playing a very important role here. So that gets introduced into the physical modeling, and we are working on that. And then again, how do we control it? The way like we did it in 2D, can we do it in non 3D and control 3D fractal? Can we generate? Again, the challenge is further to convert it into the channel way. The way we develop in 2D actually really will not work on 3D. So that is another. If you look at put into the application, really we have to think in those lines. This is an area where we are working now. We have done some preliminary experiment. We got some area or region where we can start with and get the good practice. So one student like Sachin is working on those lines. So here I'm ending. So 3D is where we started, and at the end of this is my acknowledgement to my research group. A generous sponsorship I received from the Science and Engineering Research Board to carry out the experiment on this. This is a team, my PhD student and MTech student, Sachin, Farooq, Tariq. Bharat, who passed out, completed his PhD. This is Arshal, and the Yogini is Amit. He is the student about to complete this topic now, submitted the thesis. So I would like to say thanks to them. This is the setup, where from my laboratory. Simple setup, very simple setup, and generating very quite interesting structures here. And this inspiring, fun-loving group, they haven't contributed anything in the research publication. But when I shared with them, they asked with curiosity, what you're doing in this research. So I told them, this is how what I'm doing, and you try at home. And and this young, uh, just 10 years girl, Swara, he tried at home and generated the fractals on the plates. Sujata tried, and these are the fractals he has obtained, she has obtained. It's all those who do not really come for any research quantifying result and all, but they are curious, and they share the result, and that motivates me, to go further when someone is doing and just sharing. Oh, I did that experiment, and it's very interesting and good patterns I observed. Just motivating me. I want to acknowledge them as well. And thank you to Gallogly College of Engineering at the University of Oklahoma, and very importantly, the graduate student community, GSC, all the team members and the member, Mayank, who suggested my name to Professor Farooq Mistry. And really, it's honor to me that Professor Farooq Mistry considered me to share my research, which is very nascent at this stage. But he given me opportunity to discuss with you all, and all you which are present here, for this talk. So thank you very much. And this is my email ID and the phone number in India. You can very well talk to me on preferably on email communication is very convenient. So thank you very much, and I'm open for the any questions that you have in your mind.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kiran. It was an awesome presentation. It was really amazing to see the way you have told the significance of each and everything, of why you are doing anything. Though you are working for fabrication of microstructures, I see a lot of potential of this research in systems engineering as well, in the perspective of getting to know about randomness, predictability, if something is deterministic and things along those lines as well. And something that was really inspiring to see that your research is at the integration of fundamental research and applied research. So we would, I really loved, and I'm sure everyone must have enjoyed as much as I have enjoyed. And with that, I want to open the platform for question and answers and any discussions that we would love to have. And yeah, participants.
Yeah, please.
So I do have a question. I was
Yeah.
wondering how uh, how what parameters are you using for simulation? Because I'm assuming simulation would need fluid properties or
Yeah.
viscosity and all of that. Uh, so how were you able to like get accurate simulation results for what you were actually seeing in the
Yeah.
experiments? Because I'm assuming you did the experiments first and then did simulations and
Yes, exactly. We
iterated a
did.
little bit to make sure it looks like what you got in the experiment, right?
Yeah. So we did, rightly you said, we did experiment first, and then we simulated it. And in simulation, the very important is, the viscosity and the gap between the plate. That's very important here in the finite element simulations that we perform. And importantly is then the purpose of simulation was, we should we tried we whatever we thought we have, like, the capillary forces and the viscous forces are dominating the phenomena of this viscous molding. So we want to check that. So we tried the simulation, but simulation really took long time. But to find out whether we are rightly understanding the physics or not. So for that purpose, we did simulation. Okay, and then we do not then do lot of simulation, but really because it really takes a lot of time, wherein the experiment is very spontaneous. In few seconds, we get the results.
Right,
Okay,
exactly.
but to check whether our thinking of the physics involved is correct or not. So for that purpose, we did the simulation. Another, in continuation to that, when we want to build a physics-based model, it really is very complicated when anisotropy is coming into the picture, like the slots, holes, surface roughness, and all. Really, then physics-based model, although it's very, a physics-driven model is always strongly built, but very cumbersome if anisotropies are in place. So we drop it and we rely more on experimental data. And recently, one student, undergraduate student, come up with a nice publication. He developed the a machine learning model for our process, as it is very random. So he came to me, and it was not his BTech project. He just uh, discussed with me, sir. I want to do something in AI/ML. Can you help me? I said, I am not AI/ML the person, but yeah, this process is very random. If you know something in AI/ML, you can develop some model for my process. And his curiosity and his knowledge leads to the very good the ML model which has developed, and we deployed it, and very well it can predict the fractal formation. Okay, so that is how it goes into the AI/ML. But really, I'm not expert into that. Thanks to the Avdut, we opened up, and really very good contribution. And then he ended like, "Sir, this is really not a concrete model yet. We need more strengthening on that." So hope I'm looking for a student who can really take that further ahead. Yeah, so this is a simulation is just to check our the physics, what we thought is on in line or not, but we do not followed it much.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback on what Roshan has brought up. This was an absolutely fascinating talk that you've given.
Thank you, sir.
Mayank observed that you tied theory to experiment. And what I was intrigued by, or actually quite amazed by, was the similarity between experiment and simulation.
Okay.
The simulation, you've captured the physics.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, it wouldn't go to the experiment. It correlate with the experiment. The question that I have is that can you use the simulation to predict new behaviors so you don't have to do the experiment?
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, now we are working in open air, so air is like penetrating into the fluid, which is high viscosity fluid. So really, we can do this under pressure or under vacuum, and we can simulate that well. And for that condition, need not to have, because we understood the physics. So that's why now we can try that and see. And one more control parameter we can put, and we can find that the air or whatever the low viscosity fluid with the different pressure penetrating into it, or that sort of. So really, yes, different conditions we can set in the simulation, and which is not easy to create in experimental facility. Yes, sir, I agree with you.
So the next step is you've done the fundamental research.
Yeah.
And as Mayank pointed out, that you've this may have applications in practice.
Okay.
So are you planning to do something along those lines, or are you staying on the fundamental side?
No, really, now we want to pitch into the application side. is on 2D really we matured and technology is really very set now. So we want to march ahead onto the application areas now to crack. So we want to have some collaboration in that direction, because in applications, mostly in biomedical areas and all, we are not expert into that. Collaboration will help. We are working in India with our nearby institutes so that really we can hit some good applications.
Well, just for the heck of it, I hope you stay in the fundamental research area and you hand this over for transition to industry to somebody else.
Okay, okay.
Because I think fundamental research is what is needed in India, and that's anchored in the NEP 2020.
Yeah.
And not too many people do fundamental research in engineering, in my opinion, in India. Most of it is applied or transitional sort of work. And that is people who come along and say, this exists in the literature, so I'm going to apply it here to make this happen or that happen. So it's more consultancy based.
Okay.
So my hope is that you'll keep in the on the fundamental side, because that's what's going to make big changes in India, to come up with new things, stuff like that. And this gets handed over to somebody else, like partner institution or somebody else, to take.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir. I'll taken a note of it.
Okay. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I think if there are any more questions from the audience, we would love to have the questions.
Hi, I just had a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dr. Bhole. That was a really good, good presentation. And I actually got to work with some, bio structures, like in my master's thesis. So I used a gyroid structure to actually make a heat exchanger from it.
Okay.
And I got to know that those are found in the wings of the butterfly wings and all those. So it was really interesting to learn. So currently I am working on developing increasing the thermal conductivity of polymer composites. And so what I was thinking is, can the fractal formation be used for aligning of any filler materials and polymers?
Okay. Yeah, it's a thought provoking for me, but I'm not sure about what way the filler element. I mean, can you elaborate?
So we use something like, let's say, graphene, for example. So if you are using graphene particles in epoxy, or even so I'm not sure, you said you need non-Newtonian fluids. So in that case, I don't know if we can directly just mix epoxy and graphene and then try to form the fractals. Will that work?
Okay, I guess, but more of a gummy kind of epoxy, I think, right?
I mean, so our epoxy at the initial stages, it's more of liquid. I mean, not completely liquid, but it's not flowing as well. So if we heat it up,
yeah, because what I see the difference, again, I mean, one can give a try, but at this moment, epoxy, I feel it's very gummy, and the resin which we use, it's like, I mean, the toothpaste, as I mentioned later, we shifted onto it. So it's not gummy. It's non-Newtonian, but it's not gummy type of. But the resin epoxy is into that segment. So I'm not sure, but I think the phenomena which is here present in this kind of a resin which we use, I mean, it won't be there in case of a epoxy. But yes, give a try, because it's very simple to do. Okay, but is what I am feeling, because of the more gummy in nature. I think fractal formation will be a problem. Okay. May not be happen as very easily. The shaping is happening in non-Newtonian. You can give a try, but because it's very simple, as I mentioned, simple to perform experiment. So if it works, it gives some promise. Then yes, Then all the characterization I have with me, I can help out if you want some ordered structure to in filler of the filler atom you want. That will help out. And the characterization we did we did a lot of efforts in generalizing the things. So if it's working well for epoxy, then I can hand over the generalization which we did, and you can play with your epoxy, your properties of epoxy, convert into the dimensionless numbers, and go ahead. Yeah, that's how Swapnil you can do.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Swapnil. Are there any more questions today?
I can see in the chat box some questions if are there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they were just updates of people.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think there's one. Okay. So yeah, I feel that the predictive analytics is going to have a lot of promise in the field that you're working currently in terms of predicting what are the other behaviors or what are the other patterns that can be nature inspired as well as can be used in various applications. So that was really a good takeaway as well today. So probably the last call. Is there anybody up with any question?
Good.
Sure.
So let me stop recording, and then we go into our chit chat mode. So